I'm going to call this special meeting of council on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2014 to order. And first motion or item of business is adoption of the agenda, and the recommendation is that the agenda for the special council meeting of April 22nd, 2014 be adopted as circulated. Moved by Councillor Carlick-Pearson, seconded by Mayor Musalem. Any discussion? Question's been called. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Okay, moving on then in the agenda to bylaws. The first bylaw that we're discussing this evening is the 2014 5-year financial plan bylaw number 3345-2014. And the recommendation is that council adopt the 2014 5-year financial plan bylaw 3345-2014. And I'll ask if Mrs. Bombin could please just give us a quick overview just to refresh council's mind on this.
Certainly, Councillor Ashley. On April 1st, wow, that's really loud. On April 1st, Council gave 3 readings to the bylaw, which proposed a 1.2% tax increase. This increase gives the city an extra $136,000 that was missing from the budget and balances our budget.
Thank you. Considering that we have debated this before, I'm just going to ask if anybody on council has anything new to add to what's been debated before. Councillor Grant.
I believe, Councillor Ashley, that this was actually tabled, so we'd have to lift it from the table.
Oh, okay, thank you. So can I get a motion to lift it from the table, please? Okay, moved by Councillor Grant, seconded by Councillor Kinney. Any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. Okay, so now that it's lifted, thank you for that, Mayor Musalem. If we could, Councillor Grant, you had something you wanted to say.
So are we going to move the first recommendation first, or is that what you?
Yeah, I'm looking for somebody to move it.
I'll move the recommendation that council adopt the 2014 5-year financial plan bylaw.
And okay, so we've got moved by Councillor Grant, seconded by Councillor Thorkelson. And just checking with staff, everything's in order with that motion. Okay, thank you. Did anybody want to speak to that? Councillor Grant.
I know we met with the Golf Society previous to, or in between now and then, and I was wondering if anybody wanted to speak to the funding for the golf course, being it was an issue that was brought forward to us and we met with the Golf Society, because right now it's showing that we're giving them $30,000 for equipment. Is that right? They were asking.
That's in the capital expenditures, and it's it's something that might never be used, but it's
down as 30.
Okay, maybe if I can get clarification from Mrs. Bombin, do we need to make any adjustments in order to do that?
It does indicate contract pending, so the contract still hasn't been signed yet. So
would we need to include that? No, we wouldn't?
No,
okay. So basically, the word from our Chief Financial Officer is that we don't need to worry about that because it said contract is pending.
So it's still at 30 then? Is that?
Currently, as this bylaw is actually written, yes, it's still at 30.
So if we want to increase it, we have to deal with it right now, or just leave it?
Yes, you could deal with it right now. However, the equipment reserve could be used for anything that happened later on if you wanted to increase it to $40,000 per the contract, which has not been signed yet.
So we wouldn't need to do it right now, and we could do it later if necessary. Okay. Is there anybody else that had anything that they would like to add that is new towards the debate about the 2014 5-year financial bylaw?
I'll call the question.
Okay, question's been called. All those in favor? Whoops. All those opposed?
Please show me as opposed.
Okay, so the motion is carried. Please note for the record that Mayor Musalem, Councillor Kinney, and Councillor Ashley are opposed. Okay, so seeing that that one has now passed, moving on to the 2014 property tax bylaw, number 3347-2014. The recommendation is that council introduce and give first, second, and third reading to the 2014 property tax bylaw, number 3347-2014. Sorry, Mrs. Bombin.
I believe this one was tabled last week as well.
Can I get okay, Councillor Garon.
I'll make a motion to lift it from the table.
Okay, moved by Councillor Garon, seconded by Councillor Kinney to lift the motion from the table. Question's been called. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so now if I could get somebody to make a motion. Councillor Thorkelson.
I'll move the motion that we give first, second, and third readings to the 2014 property tax bylaw.
Moved by Councillor Thorkelson, seconded by Councillor Carlick-Pearson. Does anyone have anything new to add to the debate? Seeing no one raising their hands, would someone like to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question has been called. All those in favor? Opposed?
Please show for the record that I'm opposed.
The motion is carried. Please show for the record that Mayor Musalem, Councillor Kinney, and Councillor Ashley are opposed. Okay, moving on then. There are no additional items as far as I know, so we'd be moving on to correspondence for action. There is a request for financial support for float travel from the Prince Rupert Special Events. And there's a recommendation that council receive for information purposes this report and direct staff accordingly. Could I ask for a brief report from staff on this?
Certainly, Your Worship. There was a letter of correspondence from Joy Sundin, who is the Secretary of Board of Directors for the Prince Rupert Special Events Society. They have requested that council consider providing some transportation cost funding to have the parade float participate in other municipalities and other cities. And so they're seeking from council the opportunity to have some funds set aside and granted to them to be able to do so.
Thank you. What would council like to do with this? Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to request that council receive for information purposes and direct to staff for further commitment.
Do you have any recommendations as to what we would be recommending to staff? Because I think that that's what they're looking for.
That we have the money available for the traveling expenses for the float.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the travel expenses for the float. Is there a seconder for the motion? Okay, seeing none, that motion wouldn't go forward. Councillor Cunningham.
I would like to have somebody from the Special Events Committee come and talk to us about this, and if they're talking about 6, 7 events, attending 7 events, and some of them are costly and some are very inexpensive. I would like somebody to come before council and explain this, and possibly which ones would be more beneficial to the community.
Would you like to make that a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Garon. Any discussion? Question's been called. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Did you want to have your vote in opposition recorded, Councillor Carlick-Pearson? Okay. So the motion is carried. Any further discussion on this topic? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to reports, questions, and inquiries from members of council. Does anyone have anything? Councillor Cunningham.
I know it can't be put in the budget right now because we don't know if we're going to get it or not, but I know there's negotiations going on with the port right now for other payments, and you've been quite vocal about we wouldn't be in this mess if we'd been receiving past payments. If and when we do receive a payment in the immediate future, I would like to see a large portion of that earmarked for our roads, which are getting ridiculous. You know, it's hard enough to drive on them. It's probably impossible to ride on them on a bike.
Yes, Mayor Musalem.
If I could follow with a comment.
Certainly.
When we get money from the port, whatever is negotiated, we should ask first for a report from council or to council from staff as to where that money should best be put.
Okay, so we've got a couple of requests. Councillor Thorkelson.
I tend to, it'd be nice to fix the roads, but I tend to agree with the mayor. Because, and for this reason, is that we have that dam to do, and we have to have enough money put aside, which we figure is $4 million, in order to look after that dam. And that's one of our big projects that we have to do, and it's 12 million. Right now, I think it's 12. We get 8 from the federal government and 4 from that we have to put in ourselves. And so it may be that at that time, that we have enough money or that it's going to cost less. Also, it could be that we don't have enough money to do it. And that seems to me to be a hugely important project, probably might trump roads. And if we had a report brought back, then we would at least know what staff thinks that we should be doing with that money. But obviously, we need to be prepared, fixing infrastructure, whether it is roads or whether it's the dam, right? That's.
Councillor Garan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with Councillor Thorkelson. I think the roads need to be fixed too, but I think we need to sit down with staff and find out what priorities and what's needed. So,
Councillor Cunningham.
This goes back to last meeting when I asked Mr. Long about some transparency and what's getting done around the city, and he said they're working on something right now. But I think we've got to communicate to the community, because they just don't know what's going on. You know, lo and behold, they don't. I don't sometimes, and I'm sitting in this room and should have that information at my fingertips.
Okay, Mr. Long.
Sure. Now, after the conversation that council had their last meeting, I've asked our director of engineering and public works to come once a month and give us a list of the up-to-date projects that are going on, and that way not only will council know you obviously know from the budget what's going to happen, but this will tell you in real time on a month-to-month basis sort of what is being scheduled, and that way we'll be on television, we'll be able to tell the community exactly what street is going to be done next, etc., and what the timing is. So that should help.
Councillor Cunningham.
Okay, I'm happy with that, but there's other departments in the city too that people should be made aware of what they're doing as well, not just engineering. It's there's been some changes coming to the city, and I'd like to just see the public told what they are and a little more transparency on some of these issues. It's not a secret. We're just not communicating what's going on, and it's real easy to communicate it.
Councillor Garan.
thank you, Your Worship. This is for staff. I've been getting lots of complaints from people who watch the televised program, and the sound keeps cutting in and out, so I'm sure you're aware of that, but if you could give an explanation.
The problem is that I don't think any of us have the actual explanation about why it's happening. We're not real clear, but we are trying to clarify it so that and figure out what it is and fix it so that people can actually hear. But yeah, we've got those complaints too.
Mayor Musalem.
Your Worship, through Councillor Ashley, there has been some intermittent sound problems, but the sound levels for the meetings are checked before every meeting. The problem is, overall, beyond the intermittent sound, is that council members must speak directly into their mics. If you're not within 2 inches of your mic, you're not really being heard by the general public. And people are telling me that it's fine when people are speaking into the mics, but when they're away from the mic, even though they speak up and think it's projecting well, people have to run the volume on their television right up and then run it down again when somebody's speaking directly into a mic. So that might be part of the problem.
Thank you for that information. That's certainly helpful, and we'll all try and speak into our mics more efficiently then. Just having heard what people have said, I think the biggest thing seems to be just wanting more communication, and I think staff have heard that. So if we can just have more communication in terms of the money, I think from the port, I'm sure that when that money comes, you guys will be letting us know, and at that time probably telling us what it's best used for. So I don't know that we need a resolution at this point about that. I think staff has heard. Is there anything else under reports, questions, and inquiries? Councillor Cunningham.
One other thing I'd like to point out that one of our reporters from the Northern View just got a couple of awards. I just wanted to see if she can really blush.
Congratulations.
You know, once in a while we've got to recognize them.
Excellent. Any other items under reports, questions, and inquiries? Seeing none, I guess I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
If I could just ask one
sorry,
question.
please go ahead, Mayor Musalem.
The meeting tomorrow night is scheduled for 5:30?
Okay, yes, 5:30 tomorrow evening. So the meeting tomorrow is at 5:30 tomorrow evening for those people watching. Okay, so I saw Councillor Garon's hand up and Councillor Kinney, so we'll consider that moved and seconded. Okay, any discussion? Questions been called. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Good night.